Okay, good morning, guys. It is Wednesday, 8:30. Just making sure you guys are logging in, just seeing who's going to be participants here for today. This is a good time to ask some questions. You have a project due Friday on plants. I'm going to go over a few things on plants with you guys today, kind of continuation of where we left off, plus a review and what I'm looking for your project um, on Friday. So still wait a few minutes here. Only got one person in here. Oh, okay. I've got Gavin. Hello. Looks like Gavin's in here. So good to see you. Things are going great. Okay, I got another participant. All right. If you could say who you are, just say hello. You could type on the side chat there. Um, we're going to continue talking about plants. Oh, we got Talon. Very good. All right. Hello as well. So good job. We got Talon and Gavin. Good job. So thanks for partaken in today's lesson. So I'm going to kind of continue talking about plants here, and I'll talk about the experiment. And if you have any questions, yeah, excellent job there, Gavin. I did get your, I believe I did get your, let me just double check the whole list of students here. I'll get back to you on that. I did not get your email. I'll have to double check my email. I don't know if you sent it through Microsoft Teams or through email, so just double check that you sent it. So I'll have to go back. I don't have you on my list here right now. I'm just scanning through as I was putting grades in there. Same with you. Tell them both of you guys make sure that they're turned in. I don't see them on my list. I'll go through my Microsoft Teams and email. So if you put it, let's see, I sent it through Teams and put it in a file. Okay, I'll double check that for you. Okay, and I'll send you a message on Teams that I got it after the segment. Okay. All right. So good job for communicating. So I don't have you on my list of ones, but I know you guys have been working on it. So um, I will double check that as well. Okay. All right. We got Allie here. Excellent. Anybody else want to say hello? Um, so we got Allie, Gavin, and all right. Who else do we have in here? Allie, Gavin, and Talon so far. I have 7 people in here, which is great. I'm going to continue talking about us. We've got Kyle. Very good, Kyle. Thanks for joining as well. So hello, Kyle. So just nice that you could chat right in there. And if you have any questions, I could see what you're asking there too. So I am going to talk a little bit more about plants and your project that's due Friday. So let me kind of review some things that we've been talking about plants. And I'm going to have a little interaction with you guys here too. So if you could answer some of these questions on there, this would be great. So plants, without plants on life on Earth probably would not exist, right? What are some key benefits of plants? If you could write your little answer on the sidebar there. What are some of the key benefits of having plants? Excellent. I got 9 people in here. This is the most I've had so far. So excellent on that. Um, so without plants, life on Earth probably wouldn't exist. What are some of the reasons why plants probably won't exist? Food, very good. Oxygen, very good, Gabby. And looks like Gabby and Allie, very good. Food, shade, those are all excellent answers. Those are things I was basically going to get into here. So without, they would, their primary source of food for people and animals. They help produce oxygen. They help keep us cool with shade, and they renew or filter the air on our Earth. Very good. So those are some things there. Okay. They also provide. They help slow the wind speed. They provide homes for many animals as well. They usually are, kind of help beautify the surroundings, perfume the air from the smells as well, and they provide materials as well for us and for fuel. Okay, so plants need nutrients, they need soil, they need water, and they need sunlight. So those are some of the key essentials that a plant actually needs. Very good. So those are some of the very importance there: sunlight, water, and soil. They need those things to thrive for them to live. Very good. Okay, I see somebody wrote on the sidebar here, photosynthesis. Very good. Help make people make paper. It looks like was Gavin there. Sunlight. Excellent. So those are some really good answers there too. So photosynthesis, I'm going to kind of break that down. It's the process by which plants make food, sugar and glucose. Okay, so it's an important process that plants go through. We studied this in just basic cells, plant cells as well. We're just talking about more plants as a whole. So sunlight provides energy, and the air provides carbon dioxide. Nutrients and water is absorbed by the roots, and photosynthesis in the chloroplast occurs in the chloroplast in the leaves. So don't forget, the photosynthesis takes place in the leaves of the plants, and sugars are made as food for the plant, and oxygen is released. Okay, so those are some key. These are some key components there. All right, so guys, if you could just keep the chats amongst yourselves on here, just this is more for me to get feedback from you guys. So, okay, looks like we got Gus in here, Gavin, we have Talon, Gabby, Allie. So good job for tuning in today for that. Veryl, very good. All right, so keep the conversations to a minimum here. If you have questions, this is the time to ask me. I don't need any side talk or sidebar. Okay. All right. Alex is in here too as well. So good job. So thank you for partaking and listening on today's lesson. All right. So moving on with photosynthesis. All right. Soil nutrients, some important nutrients in the soil. You don't have to write any of these down, but these are some really good ones. Nitrogen, it helps with growth and photosynthesis. Phosphorus, photosynthesis and flowering. These are some of the nutrients in the soil. All right. Potassium helps build proteins and prevents disease. All right. Calcium, which makes the cells strong. Magnesium helps with photosynthesis, and sulfur builds proteins and produce food. So those are some importance of that. We talked about, if you watched my earlier podcast this week on Monday, I talked about the 4 or 5 main basic parts of the plant. And that's what we're going to focus on: the roots, the stems, the leaves, the flowers, and the seeds. Those are the 5 main important parts. So kind of going down through each one here. I'm going to start with the leaves first. Okay, so if you have any questions, this is the time to do it. Okay, we got another person in here, Mitchell. Good, I have up to 12 people. So good job. This is the most I've had in here at one time. So good job for paying attention and looking at that. So I'll also be on at 1 to 2 today. You don't need to show back up again. It's just it's for other students as well too. It couldn't make this time. So looks like Talon wrote about brain pop. Okay, still doesn't work. Try your best. You have to log in through Clever to get to the brain pop there, Talon. So make sure you log in that way through Clever to get to the brain pop that I signed on seed plants. Okay, now it'll be due Friday. If you have technical difficulties, try your best on that. Okay, all right. So if you have any questions about the project, this is time to ask, but I'm still covering some things on plants so you can get some more background information. Remember, you're researching you're coming up with 3 plants in your neighborhood that you are going to research, and you're going to tell me about how they differ from one another and some of the parts and how they work together and function, because they're all going to be different. They're going to reproduce differently. They're going to look differently. The root systems might be different, so you could research and get as much information as you can. So that'll be due Friday. So this will be the last time I meet with you guys today until Friday. So those will be due on Friday during the day. So you could also email or send them through Microsoft Teams to me. Continuing on about the leaves. Okay, the leaves. Definition of the leaves: they're flattened. They're the outgrowth for the stem. They're used for photosynthesis, okay, for the leaves, respiration, and what they call transpiration. So they produce food for the plant, and it also stores it for later use. So remember, photosynthesis is the main function for the leaves. That's where they get their energy from. All right. The leaves could shape, and they vary in shape and size. Different leaves look different, like a palm tree leaves look different than just like a regular plant. Leaves, just like fern leaves, they're going to look more like blades. So we're going to talk about some parts of the blades and the veins and stuff like that, and some of their basic parts. Okay, the blade, the veins, some of the edges are what they call. So the external anatomy of them is the blade of the leaf. Okay, the leaf base usually has parts attached to the stem or the branch, and it will protect the bud at its axil. Okay, at the leaf base. Okay, so that's I'm just talking about some things on the leaf. The blade is also called the lamina, is another name for the blade of the leaf of the flower or plant. All right, they're flat. They expand. The broad parts of the leaf All right, and most parts of the leaf are for food manufacturing, where animals are going to eat. Okay, they have veins. They form structural framework for the leaf. So that's what the function of the blade. They have veins, and we're going to talk about the veins and what they do next as well too. All right. There's an area called the mid rib. It's the middle part of the vein. Okay, it's the large center vein from which all other leaf veins extend. Okay, so that's another area called the midrib. It's the large center vein right down the middle of the leaf. Okay, now the veins are very important because they're systems of tubes. Okay, all right, and okay, we got a few other people in here. I'm just seeing those the notes. I see a question here. How many plants? Looks like I told Dylan. Okay, looks like we have Faith, we have Beryl. Okay, you were researching three plants. Okay, three. So come up with three plants, flowers, trees in your neighborhood. So you're comparing and contrasting them. Okay, trees do count. Yes, I did. Someone wrote in there trees. Yes, very good. Okay, that will count as well too. So like a magnolia tree, a fig tree, an apple tree, those would all count. All right. Excellent. Looks like you wrote the audio is kind of breaking up. Hopefully you can hear me. It says live on me here, so hopefully you're live there as well. Make sure you turn in your cell projects. Some people I did not get cell projects from. I have about maybe 40 some turned in. It's a pretty good number from the amount of students I've been seeing online and on Microsoft Teams. So make sure you're getting those turned in. Continuing on with the leaves here, as I'm looking at some of your conversations here. Um, Systems of tubes. There's two systems of tubes called xylem and phloem for the transport of nutrients. The xylem are ducts that bring water and minerals from the roots to the leaves, from the roots to the leaves of the xylem. The phloem are ducts usually to move sap with dissolved sucrose, which is a type of sugar produced by photosynthesis in the leaf and out of the leaf. So xylem and phloem are two parts of they are transportation parts of nutrients throughout the plant. Xylem and phloem are the two vocabulary terms. You might have seen that in the Brain Pop video if you were able to access that. All right. Um, the margins are the edges of the leaves. Okay, and as you can help identify for plant identification, how they're cut around the edges, they're all going to look a little bit different. Okay, all right. So I'm just kind of talking about leaves right now. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next part, and that's going to be. I'm just flipping through a few here. The leaf structure. I'm going to kind of wrap up on the leaf. I'm just giving the basics parts on the of the leaf. There is another part of the leaf structure. It's called the stoma, which is also an important one. Which is they're actually stomas are small holes. They're opened by and enclosed by two guard cells, which lets certain nutrients. We talked about guard cells in just the regular plant or active transport, where it allows certain things to come through. It allows the plants to breathe and transpire. It gives off moisture, so that's the carbon dioxide and oxygen coming into the plant. So that's the stoma. Okay, you might want to. It's basically the gas exchange of the leaves from the leaves. So the oxygen and carbon dioxide coming into and out of the cell, and that's also found in the leaf. So it's called the stoma, stoma, the stoma. All right. Let's see here. Um, that's fine. I did see somebody here. I just see another question here. Once we see the plants, how do you expect us to research the tree and know its name? Yeah, that's a good question. Try your best at researching that plant in your neighborhood. Maybe a family member might understand or know what it is. Um, you could basically get a book. You can see what it looks like and compare, finding an identification tool online. Um, but you're probably going to have some of your common types of plants around your neighborhood. Ferns are common around here. Spanish moss is common. Oak trees are common. So you're going to have a wide variety. You may have a fig tree in your yard. You may have elephant ears. Those are some other types of plants. So they could be anything: daffodils, the daisies, sunflowers. You may even have a garden in your yard as well too. So you can use a lot of those. Palm trees, very good. It's a type of tree. Absolutely, you can use palm trees. Palmettos, another type of palm. So very good. All right. So someone also wrote, okay, yeah, if you have another class at 9, I'm on here 8:30 to 9:30. So yeah, you could join in on Ms. Wiedemann's class at 9. You could go back and listen to the rest of this, whatever you missed too. Pine cones, yes, pine cones they're a type of conifer. So that is actually the seed part. So that's what we talk about with gymnosperms and angiosperms. The pine cone is actually the seed itself. So when they drop and fall to the ground, you could use those. Okay, all right. So yes, all right. Going on after the stoma here with with the cells here, chloroplasts. Okay, they contain chlorophyll. Chloroplast is the cell organelle that you learned about in the plant, which contains chlorophyll, which gives it this green pigment. So both kind of work together. They're located inside the food making of the cell. Okay. And like I said, photosynthesis is the process by which H2O and CO2 is in the presence of sunlight and converted into sugar and oxygen. This makes the plant its food. So photosynthesis is an important part of the plant as well. Okay. All right. Respiration. Plants respire 24 hours a day. And what respiration means is what? Who could tell me what respiration means? Anybody in here? Looks like I have 16 people. This is really great. This is the best turnout so far on my live session here. So you could write your answer on the sidebar there. Respiration. What does respiration mean? Anyone want to take a guess at that? Breathing air. Very good. Good job, Alex. Okay, it's the process of breathing. Very good. Okay. So respiration means that they consume oxygen and nutrients and give off CO2 and water. Okay, so that's respiration. All right, now moving on to stems. Okay, so I'm kind of going to the 5 main parts here. I talked about leaves right now. Now I'm going on to stems, and then I'll talk a little bit about the classification and more about your project. And if you have questions during this, I'm still checking the sidebar as I'm talking here too. 2 main functions of stems. They move the movement of water and minerals from the roots upward, okay, and movement of manufactured food downward. So water going upward and food going downward on the stem of the plant. So that is some of the 2 main functions of that. They support the leaves and reproductive structures as well for some of their functions. Okay, all right. So that's a little bit on there. No, for your answer, your question there, Alex, I would say no for that one. Okay, just because that's pretty common. I would prefer more so a type of plant. Okay, all right, all right. So I don't know who that person is. Somebody 00 Sam, if you could say who you are. I don't know who that screen name may be. Um, but reiterating what to do for the plant project, you're researching 3 types of plants in your neighborhood or your backyard. Okay, and you're comparing and you're contrasting the 5 main parts of your plant. Okay, Sam. Okay, thank you. All right, Sam T. All right, so Sam, we're researching 3 plants in your neighborhood. You are researching about them. You're telling me about their stems, their leaves, their plant, their seeds, their flowers, and you're comparing and contrasting them. You could also classify them in groups of vascular and non-vascular. If you did not watch the last segments from Monday, I talked about those things. It's due Friday, so you have a couple more days to do this. You could turn in your papers on Friday, comparing and contrasting your 3 types of plants. Okay, so Friday is when it's due. Okay. All right, I stated that in the Microsoft Teams as well too. All right, so moving on with stem functions. Okay, what the main parts of the stems do? They're used for food storage and reproduction of the plants involving cuttings. Okay, so green stems manufacture food just as leaves do. Okay. All right, so the external structures of the leaves, I'm not going to get too involved in some of the details on those ones. So, or the stems. Um, like I was telling about xylem and phloem, those were the parts of the leaf, and cambium is another one there too. It separates the 2 and produces all new cells. It separates xylem and phloem, which is the minerals getting transported back. So the stem has some similar capabilities like the leaf in having the xylem, phloem, and cambium, those 3 main parts there. Okay. Um, all right. All right, looks like somebody wrote there. Yeah, you could do that in the PowerPoint form there. I believe that is Alex. Yes, you could do your project in PowerPoint form or on paper, however you want to do it. You can present it that way too. So whatever's easier for you. Good job. All right. So moving on here, the roots. Okay, now talking about roots. I already talked about the leaves and the stems. So I'm kind of giving you some information or background information on the roots. Roots could be above ground or they could be underground. Some of them can be above ground as well. Their main function is to anchor or hold the plant upright. They absorb water and minerals from soil and conduct to the stem. And they also store the food. Okay, so that's the main functions of the roots. Okay, all right. Um, There's something called there's a couple different types of roots. So if you have any of these types of trees or plants that you're researching in your area, you might want to research a little bit about the root system. I'm going to give you about 2 or 3 different types of root systems here. All right. Um, Okay, guys. Like I was telling you, I don't need some of the side conversations going on. Just if this is the time. It's nice to say hi and stuff like that, but try to listen in or ask questions. This is the time to ask questions about plants, roots. I'm going to try to give you guys some feedback here. Veryl, please don't continue asking about the start time of that. That's you should know her, Miss Wiedemann's start times for her classes here. This is my time that I'm on here, so try to stay focused on this session here. Okay. All right. Fibrous roots. Okay, which are types of roots. All right. They're easier for transplant planting. They're shorter and smaller and more compact. So if you have any of these types of plants with this root system, all right, a banana, coconut, rice, corn, all grasses, okay, sugar cane, they're going to be this type of root system called a fibrous root. They're shorter, smaller, and more compact. Okay. All right. The next type is called a taproot. Okay. They have a large central roots, which are with shorter branching roots. Okay. For example, you probably have seen these before. Carrots are one example. So examples of a taproot, some of them would be carrots, mangoes, avocados, tomatoes, peppers. They would be considered a taproot. And the next one here is called aerial roots. They hang down from the midair and absorb water from rainfall. These are some of the long ones that you might see maybe like in a rainforest or something like that. But these are going to be like your mangroves, your wild pine, and orchids are going to be aerial roots, which hang down from the midair and absorb water from rainfall. Okay, so those are some types there. Potatoes, those are going to probably be more considered a fibrous root there. That would be, so good job asking that, Beryl. Okay, so that would be the first one where they will be considered to be with a shorter, compact, um, easier for transporting would be potatoes would be more on the fibrous root. So good job. All right. So these are types of plants too. So you could also include those. All right. Um, Now there's one here that are called advantageous roots, which are they grow in unusual places on plants, such as stems and leaves and even fruits. We're not going to get they're more under the specialized root system. We're not going to focus too much on those ones there too. All right, moving on to the next part of the plant is the flower of a plant. Okay, not the flower in general, the flower parts of the plant. These are the seed-bearing parts of the plant. Okay, consisting of reproductive organs, the stamen and pistil, which we'll talk about, and the petals and so on, and sepals. All right, they vary in size, shape, and color. And flowering plants are called angiosperms. Remember, I talked about gymnosperms and angiosperms. Gymnosperms were a type of seed that has like a pine cone. They don't have a seed casing. A flowering plant has a seed casing. They are an angiosperm. They have a protective coating. Okay. All right. So that's what that means. All right. So I'm going to talk about some of the parts of the flower next. Okay. Any other questions so far? It looks like I still have about 13 people in here, which is good. All right. So um, continuing on flower parts here. The petals, stamen, and pistil are reproductive organs. Okay, the anther and ovary as well. The sepal is a green leaf part that covers and protects the bud before opening. So you could research some things on the sepal, stamen, anther, and ovary of the flower. Okay, and I'll kind of get into details of some of these here. The petals are actually leaves. They're usually bright colors to attract pollinating insects like bees and birds, hummingbirds. They will be attracted to those. Okay, the stamen is the male part of the flower. It has two parts called the filament and anther. Okay, so that is the stamen is the male part. All right, and stamens the female stamen is called under the pistil. There's something called the stamen. So that would be consist of, or my fault. The pistil has is the female part, and it has three parts under that, which would be the stigma, the style, and the ovary. So the pistil is the female part, and those are some characteristics under that. Now, the anther, when the male part, it is the sac-like structure at the top of a filament, and it contains pollen. So just think of the anther; it's where it contains the pollen. All right, so that's where it's located there. The ovary is the eggs that develop there, and they grow to become a fruit or seed coat in the ovary. Okay, so animals and like bees and hummingbirds have a symbiotic relationship with plants. And does anyone know what that word symbiotic means? Looks like we have a question here. Acorns or seeds, right? Yes. Acorns or seeds. Very good. Somebody else wrote that in there. Not sure who that is. So good job asking that question. But what is a symbiotic relationship? Does anyone want to take a guess for the students that are in here right now? What does that mean? It's between an animal and a plant, like the bees and the hummingbirds and flowers. Think about what that word symbiotic means. What does symbiotic mean? Involving the interaction of two different organisms living closely and close, and they help each other out. Very good. So plants rely on bees, and bees rely on plants, right? Because they help pollinate and make more and spread those seeds around. So very good, Faith, on and asking that. Okay. All right. So good job. Whoever the Florida man is on here, or it's not venom at all. So I don't know what that you're asking for that. So I don't know who you are, so make sure you're keeping this on the topic that we're studying right now. Okay, so let me know who you are as well. All right. Okay, Ignacio. Yeah, it's not venom, so it's pollination. All right. Okay. All right. So pollination is the color of flower. The flower attracts insects to fertilize the flower, and it begins the beginning of the fruit and seed formation. So fruits and seeds are attractive to birds who eat and spread the seeds, and then they reproduce the plant. And some seeds carry on animal coats, so they actually take them on their coats, like the bee will transfer it as well too on their bodies. Okay. So types of flowers. There are four main types of flowers that we'll talk about here as well too. Okay, on classification. All right. Corn, for example, the stamens and pistils are found in the separate flowers of the same plant. Okay. Um, Cauliflower would be under another classification. The stamens and pistils are found in the separate flowers as well. Okay. And then there's gymnosperms. Okay, those are your conifers, cycads, ginkgos. Those meaning that they are like a pine cone. They don't have a seed coating or covering. So the seeds develop either on the surface or scales or leaves, and often modified from cones. Very good. All right. And then you have some of your primitive plants. Okay, those are going to be some of your ones that produce spores and so on. They reproduce by spores. They have stems, leaves, and roots. Those can be some of your ferns would be classified in there. They have xylem and phloem for making the vascular plants parts of the plant as well. All right, now seeds. A seed is an embryonic plant enclosed in a protective outer covering of the seed coat and is stored. Okay, and just moving on here for some parts of the seed that we talked about here. We talked about the monocots and the dicots. So that's the seed case, the casings of them. So that would been, let me skip over to the next information here. Yeah, the monocots are single leaf, meaning that their flowers and petals grow in groups of three, and they have parallel veins. All right. And those are your grass, corn, onions, lilies. They usually grow for only 1 year. The flowers are small, and they're usually overlooked as well. Now the dicots, on the other hand, They are two seeds. The flowers, and they're grouped of 4 or 5, and the leaves have networks of veins that branch out. So the greatest number of plants are dicots. They tend to live longer, more than one season. So examples are just your basic trees: sunflower, beans, pumpkins, and clovers would be some of those examples there. All right, looks like somebody had to leave. Okay, excellent here. If you have another session, yeah, it's about 9 o'clock right now, but I'm in here till 9:30. So I pretty much covered most of the stuff that we went over from Monday, and a little bit into detail and extra parts of the plants. So if you have any questions about your project, this is the time to ask. I want you to make your research 3 plants in your neighborhood, and I want you to come up with their 5 main parts, the root, stems, and leaves, because they're all going to reproduce or they're going to look differently. Discussing them, the root, stems, leaves, flower, and seeds, okay? And comparing and contrasting them. So you need to go online and research some of these plants and what families they belong to, like if they're in vascular plants or non-vascular. Remember, non-vascular are your mosses and algae, okay? Yes, looks like someone wrote, I think that's you, Jana. Can they be in your backyard? Absolutely. Your backyard, then you may have a garden, they could be in your neighborhood, maybe down the street. So yeah, any of those will work for you. Okay. All right, so making it easy for yourself, researching the types of plants. They could be lilies, they could be sunflowers, they could be a wide variety of trees in your backyard: palm trees, Spanish moss. We talked about moss and algae. Hopefully you had a chance to watch Mr. Candle and I's video on plants. I put that out on Monday, and then I was talking about all the similar stuff on Monday as well too. So just kind of reviewing parts of plants with you guys, how they reproduce. So if you listen to this session, you're getting some background information on plants. It's always a good idea if you were to take some notes on some of the things I'm saying, or you could research these things online. And also you have a brain pop too. The brain pop on seed plants kind of goes into some of the details, and there's some vocabulary with this, and some of the stuff that I'm talking about, like xylem and phloem and cambium, they would be in your vocabulary as well. Okay, they help with the transport of nutrients in the veins of the plants. Okay, with your stems and your leaves, that's what they help between there, which I went over earlier with you guys. Okay, so make sure you're looking over that. Any other questions pertaining to the project? Okay, you have 2 days to do this, today and tomorrow, and do Friday, really 3 days, so anytime on Friday. Yep, looks like somebody else. I don't know who this person is. If you could state who you are. Hello there. I don't know that name. In your backyard or the area? Yes, absolutely. So I'll put yes as I'm typing that in there too. Okay. So this is a good way to communicate with me and ask questions. So, you know, on these live sessions, I do prepare if you have a few questions. I do like getting feedback from you guys too. And whoever's in this session right now, can you tell me the difference between vascular and non-vascular? If you watched the earlier podcasts on Monday, what is explain what vascular and non-vascular is. Oh, okay, Mitchell, it's you, Mitchell. Okay, Mitchell, do you know what the difference between vascular and non-vascular plants are? You could write your answer on the bottom there. I'm here to help, so I'm just trying to get some feedback with you guys here, and that's always good for you to come with a question too. Anybody want to take a guess? Vascular or non-vascular? I kind of covered that earlier in the week. So I do hopefully for your project, you put that, whatever your plan is, if it's a non-vascular or a vascular plant, because that's the way we categorize them. Okay, talked about the categories of them. Okay, roots or no roots, Talon, that's a good try. Okay, that's one part. Yeah, because what which one's going to have no root? How about I write this down? Okay, I'll say non-vascular has no question mark. Non-vascular has no what? Roots is one of them. Okay, so roots. What else? Two other parts. Two other parts. They have non-vascular has no roots. You want to try again, Talon? Okay, the flowers? Nope, not flowers. They do have flowering parts. Okay. So good try there. I think that was Jana. Okay. So they have no roots, they have no stems as I'm writing it in, and stems and leaves. Okay. All right. So non-vascular have no roots, stems, or leaves. Your examples for those I'm writing them in are going to be mosses. All right. Like you saw in the video, Mr. Kalu had Spanish moss. Okay. All right. Mosses and algae are going to be these are what they call primitive plants, older plants. Okay. So mosses and algae are going to be not your non-vascular. Your vascular are going to have all those. They're going to have root, stems, leaves, flowers, and seeds. All right, so that's where they're going to help reproduce. They're going to have transport. They're going to stand mainly upright or straight because algae kind of grows in water, and mosses kind of grow on rocks. So they're going to look a little bit different in different areas. So um, very good. All right. Any other questions there that you may have on vascular or non-vascular, angiosperm, gymnosperm? I'd like you to include that in your project too. So is your plant a vascular plant or non-vascular plant? Does it reproduce with seed, flowering parts with like an angiosperm, or is it going to have like an no seed like in a gymnosperm? They call it a naked seed. So they don't have a protective coating like a pine tree, okay, or a pine cone. All right, so that's going to be your gymnosperm. Monocot, does your plant have monocot or dicot? Is that the seed case going to have one case or is going to have two cases? Mono meaning one, dicot meaning two. Okay, so include that with your five main parts of your flower and the differences there too. So obviously, the more you can tell me about the differences between your plant, the better that your grade's going to probably be for this assignment, your project. So you're showing me that you're researching and you're putting the time and effort to researching those parts of the flower or the plant and the comparison and the information and the functions of them. So you're understanding those parts. Don't forget to do the brain pop too. There's a quiz, 10 questions always are on brain pop. So there's a little video with the 10 question quiz. And then there's some vocabulary as well too. So that's also due Friday. So I won't see you guys the rest of the week after today's 1 o'clock live session. So this is a time to ask questions that you have on the project itself. Okay, when it's due. So you can always go back and look at these on my YouTube channel here at Ferko TV. So you can listen to what I'm talking about and what you need to do, what the project needs to entail. I wrote that also on Microsoft Teams. Okay, you're comparing and contrasting three plants in your neighborhood. All right, anybody else have any questions? Any other questions in here at this time? Also want to talk also another process of with the leaf. I talked about respiration and photosynthesis, but there's also another process with the leaf called transpiration too, which is the loss of water from the leaf. So this helps to draw water up through the plant from the roots, and that's word is called transpiration. So it's the loss of water from the leaf. So the respiration is breathing parts, photosynthesis process of making the cells containing chlorophyll that take in carbon dioxide and water using sunlight, making oxygen, making sugar and oxygen. So that's the other part is called transpiration. Those three kind of work together in the functions of the leaf: transpiration, respiration, and photosynthesis of the main functions of the leaf. Anybody else with any other questions? I think Vero left. I think Faith left. I know there was another session with Miss Wiedemann. We might have some overlapping times, but it's time to ask and answer your questions pertaining to the plant project. Okay, Mitchell, you're still here. You have any questions, Mitchell, about what you're doing? That you understand what's going on? Talon, yeah, I see you put a couple question marks too. Do you have any questions as well? Now's the time to type or ask your question online. Okay, good. You understand. Good job. You're listening, so good job paying attention for today. Okay, so like I said, I kind of just reviewed some things from Monday and kind of went into a little bit more detail on some of the parts of the plant, the five main parts. So I went into some of the parts of the leaf and the stems, and even the reproductive parts, the seed parts as well too, the flowering parts. So if you don't have any more questions, still going to remain on here. Um, it's totally up to you if you want to stay on here and decide if you have questions. All right, looks like another question. I think I'll work on. Okay, so Miss Wiedemann's work, very good. You could leave anytime, so that's great. So yeah, go ahead and do her work. All right, good job, Mitchell. And then make sure you do what you need to do in here by Friday. So you have 2 days to get stuff turned in, brain pop and research on your plant. Okay, looks like Talon left out of here too. Anybody else still in here? Looks like I had up to 13 or 14 people today, so that's six here remaining. Any other questions as I talked about plants for today? Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns on this live session here right now? Especially about the plant project, about Brain Pop. Hopefully your computers are working for Brain Pop. Looks like I have about 5 people in here. Any other questions? I kind of went over everything. I'm just open for questions now. So I kind of reviewed and went into some details on plants. Hopefully you were paying attention. You can go back and listen to these. This is the time for me to answer your questions. Probably going to wrap it a little bit short here if there's no more questions. I know there's about 5 people in here. Okay, good job. I see somebody else. All right. So good job, Jana. You know what to do. You said no questions. So research those plants in your backyard, plants or trees. Okay. Include the 5 main parts that we studied about each of those plants, how they might differ from one another, their classification, the vascular, non-vascular, the angiosperm, gymnosperm. There's their seed, a monocot or dicot. Those things that you could explain and tell me there. So some of the things I went over on the live session there as well. And don't forget to do the brain pot too on seed plants. That'll give you some background information as well too. All right, well, I have a few people in here at the moment right now, so I am going to wrap up this session here if there's no more questions. You can always catch me at the next session, which is at 1 o'clock. So I'll be on from 1 to 2 around that time. So if you missed that, missed out today, you can always check that session out, and you can always go back and listen in and on the earlier part of the session too. So usually the first part of it, first 20 minutes or so is kind of me presenting and then answering questions from students. So and presenting some information on our topic on plants for this week. So again, just restating, the project is due Friday on your 3 plants in your neighborhood, researching them. Tell me their differences of their root, stems, leaves, flowers, flowering parts, and their seeds, along with their classification, vascular, non-vascular, their seed parts, gymnosperm, angiosperm, and the classification of the seed casings under monocot or dicot. So those are going to be some of your things that you can include in your research paper due on Friday, or presentation, however you want to do it. You can do it in PowerPoint form, you can do it in paper, whatever's easier to send to me through email or Microsoft Teams. And don't forget, Brain Pop is due on Friday as well. 10 questions on seed plants along with some vocabulary on that. So go online through Clever to get to Brain Pop and to log in on that way. All right, I'm going to be signing off here right now. So good job for today. And like I said, I'll be available from 1 to 2 if there's any more questions pertaining to your project and kind of restating information on plants. All right. Have a wonderful day, everyone. I'll talk to you guys later. Goodbye.